It has been a bit of a while since we had a little intro like that. I whipped that together over the past hour, just mixing some stuff together, doing some reversals, just seeing if I can come up with something. And I'm like, I might as well do at least a dry run, see how it vibes. I'll keep working on stuff. I like where this is going. But since others have suggested I go on and have a little intro, and since Hovind has decided to step up his game with an intro, I thought our little pre-broadcast affair, technically a test card session, hence I went with a more vintage test card style. Yeah, and a little joke slipped in there. Yeah, anyway, it's Yamato Live. Today we're not looking at Hovind. Instead, we're going to hit up uh, quite the classic name in creationism from around the time I ended up realizing I was an atheist and had found Logic's videos. Wow, that's actually hard to say. The videos of the YouTuber known as Logic. There we go. And one of the people in the trifecta he covered early on was Professor Chemist, mid-husband, happily married man, auto mechanic John Morris Pendleton, who is no longer with us. Um, it seems that a lot of people they like Pendleton. He isn't an outright jerk at all like Hovind is. And while he seemed to be a bit of an asshole in an email exchange he had with Logic, that's the only evidence I can find of him actually being relatively hostile. And, take it for what it is. Um, so this isn't gonna be to beat up on John. You know, it's in that kind of place. I ain't that kind of person with at least someone like him. No, this is still going to be a chance to laugh at the ideas of young Earth creationism. And while these are some older videos that we're going to be watching, it is the same set that Logic had gone through. Thanks to Zoomy for finding these videos, by the way, because for some reason I was having trouble. Yeah, we're it's still mostly the same garbage, if only a few things being different. The creationist script never changes, and it's worn out worse than Mia Khalifa. So, yeah. That being said, let us finally get right to it. We're going to skip. I've actually got the playlist up to the side right here, so you can still kind of see that there is evolution, murder equals murder and Hitler. Is that an equal? Yeah, that's equals murder and Hitler. We're not going to touch on that yet. Just going to be Hovind's DVD 5, but with a lot less hatred in it. So we're just going to stick on Earth are 6,000 years old. Yeah.
Hello once again. I'm chemist John Morris Pendleton, and we're now in our fifth conference, and this is one of the really exciting ones because I know it's a question that lots of people have. What is the age of the earth? When did the creation actually occur?
Occur. Wow. There's something funny about Pendleton. Like, okay, he is originally from Wisconsin, but life pushed him into living in Zacatecas, Mexico, which I find incredibly fascinating. Only insofar as that's the chain of events that happened, or where what the result of the chain of events was. I don't care too much about the individual nitty gritty, but something has resulted in him having a very peculiar speech pattern that I don't hate. There's Wisconsin elements in there. I don't know the exact area he's from because there's a few different dialects. There's the stereotypical Wisconsin accent stuff that's a little less noticeable. It varies. When I was in Milwaukee, I heard a lot of different accents. Um, but I don't know how much the influence of him being down in Zacatecas, Mexico, and being a Wisconsinite who has learned Spanish, Mexican Spanish, mind you, kind of like how there's American English. Let's note that it's different from Spanish over in Spain. Languages evolve that way. Hey, hey. That he just says some words in a very weird way that is extremely unique. And I know I've spent too much time focusing on that, but just listen for it. It's rather fascinating.
And of course, we're going to go to the Bible. Now, by comparison, looking at two timelines, one of what the Bible says, one of what
Okay, and it's nice to see people are enjoying the little test card. I will continue refining all of that.
evolutionists say, we have the creation of everything happened about 6,000 years ago. About 4,400 years ago, the worldwide flood occurred, of which 8 people were saved.
I really want to know exactly where they get the 4,400 from, because they can, like the biblical chronologies, I'm forgetting. Does the New Testament junk that leads from, is supposed to be from Abraham to Jebus? I don't know. Whatever direction it leads, does it give the lifespans of all those people? I don't know. And I'm wondering how they actually get there with all this. But again, that's its own thing. There's always tangents we can go on. We're just going to focus on this, or try to. I'm having an ADD moment today, so this might get wild.
Jesus was born of the Virgin Mary 2,000 years ago, and we expect that maybe in the next 5 minutes that he could come back again to rule the earth. Are you ready? He could come back. He is coming back, and it could be soon. Now, according to the Big Bang Theory and evolution, it was about 20 billion years ago. There was a big bang, a big explosion.
Not the right timetable, and when you would have made these videos, it would have been less than 20 billion, and it wasn't an explosion. When I was a kid, my understanding was 15 billion, and then that got corrected to the 13 some odd billion. And we're talking, this is stuff in the early 90s I had learned. So even then, what information I was able to get a hold of was different from what you're saying at your level. So that should tell you something about how out of date your research is. I say you as if John is still with us, but any creationist peddling this crap.
Millions and millions of years went by. 4.6 billion years ago, the earth was formed. From where they don't know, it collected water, began raining on the earth, and
Well, from where makes no sense. Material aggregates. Gravity. Have you ever heard of gravity? Gravity. So as you've got stellar cosmic material coalescing into a star, you're going to tend to get planets along with that star. It's just kind of how gravity works. There's a lot more to it than just the gravity, but that's your big dynamo and everything.
3 billion years ago, the first life forms appeared, which survived, had something to eat, and were interested and able to reproduce themselves.
Well, it's always this. It's always this glib approach to what science actually says. Earliest life would have been not long after the planet formed. By saying not long, I mean, a little after a billion plus years, once things were relatively stable on this rock. But it took a long time for life to get anywhere to what you think of when you think of primitive life. We're talking early protocells, very early cellular creatures that, if creatures is even the correct word, cellular entities that conducted the basic properties of life, reacting to stimulus, consuming food, producing waste, and reproducing, um, as a natural side effect of chemistry, because all life is fundamentally chemistry. So self-replicating molecules are going to naturally, inevitably aggregate into systems that will reproduce whole units of themselves. Hence the way bacteria and the like, and in modern parlance, reproduce the simple division. Your own cells divide that way. It's fundamental. I mean, it's not the exact same process, but the end result is they split, copies itself. It's pretty great. Um, all the chemicals need to keep going is the input of the particular materials they need to continue the reactions, which, whatever those compounds would be, they would be the first food for the protocell to eat if we want to dumb things down. You're thinking of the cells having to suddenly become, scavengers, grab their spears and their hunting bags and go after, their brethren. And it's like, not really. You would have just picked up materials just via chemical processes. Hey, I go over this bit of magnesium. That helps. Hell yeah. It really is that simple.
Into all the forms we have today. Now, where do we get the idea from the Bible that the creation of everything happened 6,000 years ago? In the Bible, beginning with chapter 5 of Genesis, we have genealogies. And we start with Adam, and it gives the age of the father when a key son was born.
Well, see, yeah, the Old Testament stuff gives lifespans. I get that, and that's exactly where Pendleton's getting now. You know he's going to with the same chart that Hovind uses. In fact, that's probably a black and white copy of Hovind's same chart. And I get that that gives you the time period between the that gives you up to the time period between the creation and the flood. Once you hit Noah's period, you get a rough range for when it would have happened. And then, okay, yeah, you do go on. I have to look at it further. I mean, at a point, it can't keep giving names. It's not like the Old Testament ends with Jebus. There's a gap there. It just ends when it feels like it. So I don't know.
In the line that eventually reached to Jesus Christ. And so we begin adding up these ages, and we come up that the flood occurred 1,656 years after the creation. After the flood, we continue to count genealogies. We have the age of the father when their son was born. Then we have time of captivity in Egypt.
Okay, see, yeah, if the New Testament doesn't actually give lifespans, then they have absolutely no fucking clue. They just throw out whatever number they're comfortable with that's roughly that range, that fits into, it doesn't conflict with the flood time and the creation, but once we stop having dates, we just got to presume stuff. And so they go on like mentionings there may be, I guess, in New Testament of, oh, this happened 300 years ago, and we know when this story happened in the Old Testament in relation to whatever else. So you can flow ahead, which also amazes me that there's a huge chunk of history that is just not accounted for in the Bible. It's just like, nah, this period between wherever the Old Testament ends and this Jesus stuff, it's not important. Nothing of importance happened except for these people being born. That's it. It's just wild. And they think from this, their own abstractions of information that is vague at best, they can precisely pin down anything. And the fact that they can do that just makes it accurate. I don't get it.
Then coming out, wandering in the wilderness, the different years for judges and kings ruling over Israel, other ages of captivities. And we come all the way down to the final book of the Old Testament, the book of Malachi, where from history we add between 300 to 400 years to when Christ was born. That's a total of about 4,000
Yeah, there he goes explaining it. Malachi just somehow adds in about 300 to 400 years. Are you sure about that? I mean, okay.
years. From Christ to today is 2,000. 4 plus 2 is 6,000 years. Now let me give you a little suggestion. When God reveals a truth in His Word, He reveals it many, many times from different angles.
Okay, and there's Laura, yeah, verifying what Pendleton was hinting at, that geologists, genealogists lead to the deportation to Babylon, which we know from real history happened around 586 BC, so they count backwards from that. How very convenient that they use the real science to justify their bullshit. And then we know Jesus was born because of King Herod. Yep, we totally know. Because the only account of Jeebus Crispy is in that book. It doesn't exist anywhere else. And I don't know how people can sit there and say this stuff. The only other sources they want to claim say anything about Jeebus outside of the Bible is text written by somebody who is biased to be writing about the Jesus character. Oh, it'd be like using a website about Spider-Man from like a fan page to justify, oh, see, Spider-Man doesn't just exist in the comic books. Here's a web page talking about him, so he must be real. What?
In different ways to confirm the truth of it. And so in the case of when the creation occurred, we also have from the book of Luke angle that goes back the other direction.
But they totally could live before the flood. The ice canopy, 3 fingers. Yeah. Hovind really likes 3 fingers thick. You know what I mean? But yeah, seriously, this 900-year-old person thing is just insane. They have to come up with so much slop on top of what their book says, but they use elements of their book to justify it. It's so wild. Like, we got to make up shit, but then we're going to find the way we can make this look like it works inside of our bullshit. even if the explanation we come up with is totally counter to what the book actually says. Oh, yeah, the Bible says the earth is round. No, it doesn't.
Because in Luke 3, we have the genealogy through Joseph all the way back of from Jesus until Adam. Of course, Joseph
From Jesus until Adam. There's also a quirk with John. He'd always do those weird pauses. It's like, are you resetting there for a moment? Like, part of me seriously thinks he could have gotten so used to speaking Spanish, and he could be wired in such a way that he actually wants to switch back to it rather than English, because he doesn't do this when he speaks Spanish. I watched some of his last videos before he passed that are in Spanish. He doesn't do that pause near as often.
was Jesus' political father, but still we have the genealogy in that direction. It turns out to be 75 generations. Now, I propose that we take an average of about 50 years for every generation between father and when this son was born. Now, I realize that sometimes it was more time than that, sometimes it was less time than that, but we just want to get an idea. So if we take 75 generations, multiply it by 50 years for each generation, we get 3,750 years, very close to our total of some 4,000 years from the creation until Christ was born. And so it confirms that attitude. Now, from the evolutionary standpoint, their clock is called the geological time scale. Now, as you look at this,
No, the clock would be fundamental physics. That's really where everything is it boils down to when we actually cement a time scale, a time for different things when the event would have occurred. And the way we measure things is going to be based on fundamental physics, primarily radioactive decay amongst other more macroscopic scales or macroscopic effects, like the time it takes for diamonds to form naturally et al. Just any factor that can be known on a given time scale. That's kind of how that works. You don't just make up advanced nuclear decay and stuff and just ignore all the problems that would come with it. Physics doesn't work that way.
list, don't say, my, what unusual names. At least you know this one at 190 million years, which is the Jurassic period. All of you know about Jurassic Park. Actually, there's three periods here I want to mention for later reference. It's the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous rocks or periods. Now, the idea is this. These numbers here represent millions of years in the evolutionary time scale. And the idea is that the oldest rocks are furthest in the earth. On top of them are younger rocks. On top of them are younger rocks. And so goes the sequence. Now,
Yeah, I mean, seriously, John, my trash can right here. Is the stuff at the bottom older than the stuff at the top? I think you'd agree it is.
we asked the evolutionist, where can we go in the world to see exactly, in sight, these layers of rocks exactly as you've laid out there? We're thinking, where could we go?
I mean, there's supposed to be a couple of places, but whether or not you can see the quote entire thing all at once, according to whatever you would consider entire thing, is irrelevant when it's noticed that the sequence is otherwise unbroken. You will not find geologic strata of a certain obvious time span containing certain index fossils of certain material types, etc., in just a location it shouldn't be. You're not going to find, you know, era C above era X. Just I forget the names of geologic periods. Oh, this is a rough morning. But that doesn't mean anything, John. That's the common thing with creationists. None of what you say, none of the questions and problems you pose actually have any value. Phrase was coined by somebody, everlasting thought stopper, that it's just supposed to make someone stop in their tracks. That's the goal, is to just get somebody to shut up so they can't constantly tell you how wrong you actually are and prove it. Going after constant red herrings and straw man, it's like, come on.
Oh, I know. We could go to the Grand Canyon in Arizona. That hole is almost a mile deep. We have all kinds of layers of rock. Guess what? About 50% of them are missing. Also, as you can see in this,
But again, you don't find them out of order. If for whatever reason a particular layer wouldn't have been preserved, it's kind of irrelevant. It isn't just a uniform preservation across the planet.
next transparency, from Canada into the United States, all this red area is called
Also, we think Hoven's old. This man's using ostensibly PowerPoint slides of some type, some presented stuff, and he's going straight up to transparencies. Although maybe this is an edited version where instead of showing a transparency up on the screen, they've added in these fancy ass effects. Also, I miss overhead projectors. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Not your typical projector. I mean the kind in school. Those things were the shit.
Precambrian rock. This is rock that's even
Precambrian.
older than 600 million years. And the younger rock is underneath it. In other words, the whole thing is turned upside down. Actually, there's only one place in
Yeah, particular nonconformities. I forget the exact status on those, whether these assholes are lying or not, but I believe I had heard something reasonable on those. I just, once again, cannot remember it because I specialize in different subjects. Geology isn't my strong suit. But, I think it's the same thing as when a cake gets stuck in the trunk the wrong way. I don't know. God, I'm tired today. This stream sucks.
the world that you can go to consistently find, consistently see these layers of rock is laid out. You know where it's at? In the books. I told you, they're good at making fascinating drawings of things that don't exist. That is not science.
I mean, did Pendleton just like drain my brain of any ability to like function? Or am I just too tired to be doing this? Because, oh my God, I am not having fun. All seriousness. Oof. Maybe there's a reason I never bothered with this before beyond lack of finding these things.
You probably heard the little fairy tale about with a magic wand, you just touch the toad and it turns into a prince. Well, evolution is even more fantastic. They say this, that over millions of years ago, there were worms living at the bottom of the oceans and the seas. But through millions of years and some favorable accidents, some of them changed into fish. More favorable accidents and more millions and millions of years, some of them changed into amphibians, as a frog.
The most glib explanation for evolution that you can get. Right up Hoven's camp.
With more favorable accidents in millions of years, some of them changed into primates, then into chimpanzee, and finally into our professor of biology. Now, for evolution, millions of years is indispensable for by chance happenings that this evolutionary...
Yeah, the blandness is really, really killing me. Like, man, I kind of regret this. I think I'd rather be doing Matt Powell right now. And by that, I mean doing a video on Matt Powell. Don't clip that.
process can take place. Obviously, if I had a worm here and say that at the end of my talk, this would be a professor of biology, you say you're making fun of the biologist. But
Biologist. Come on, John. You're better than this. You are better than that, man. Also, once again, them thinking evolution is like Pokemon. Yet when you confront them on this, they deny that that's what they're saying. Yet every single time they make up some absurdity of random thing becomes random thing, not isolated population over generations slowly changes into something that eventually we would call distinct from what it was and what the siblings it was isolated from had become.
if I say over a period of millions and millions of years, the worm became a professor of biology, you say, oh, that's quite believable. Anyway, let's take a look at some clocks. One of the first clocks that we have is the delta at the end of the great river Mississippi by New Orleans that empties out into the Gulf of Mexico. Now,
By the great river, You mean the Mississippi River? Something I'm 15 miles from? Like, I could be there in no time. Like, think about that. If I wanted to right now, I could just go to the river and then wonder why I did. Because it's going to be cold and wet and it smells terrible down by the river. And I don't know who I need to explain this to, but apparently people think that you can just hop in the Mississippi River and just have a good old time. No, that river will fucking kill you. You do not fuck around with the Mississippi. I don't know who needs to hear it, but do not come to Memphis thinking you can just hop on into the Mississippi River and have yourself a good old time at the swimming hole. You will fucking die. All right? It's a big ass fucking river that does not care about you, your feelings, or anything going on. I feel the need to stress that because seriously, I've had people come to visit who have thought they could just go up and then just like get a like a bottle of the water or something like. Oh, whoa, no, you don't want to get anywhere near that. So yes, continue to tell me about the Mississippi River Delta there, John.
now, those in search of oil have drilled both in the Gulf of Mexico as well as into the continental USA, which means into that landmass which comprises the delta. Now they observe what is deposited dirt, what is virgin dirt, as they drill down into the ground. And so from that we can know how extensive was the delta, how deep it was, how much dirt is deposited there. Also we can measure how
Laura, that's what I was thinking. Him saying River Mississippi is the Spanish construction, so I wouldn't blame him for that. In Spanish, you wear shoes red, not red shoes. But remember, this man is a native English speaker from Wisconsin. We have to remember that. So it seems pretty impressive that he has begun to completely lose his ability to speak English worth a damn.
much water is flowing and sediments bringing. I read one figure that some 30,000 tons of dirt are brought down every hour. And so with those things put together, we find that the whole delta, this is what a delta looks like. It's when a river flows into a larger body of water. The water slows and the sediments it carries begin to accumulate, forming that landmass called a delta. This whole Mississippi River Delta could have been formed in 6 to 10,000 years. Now, mind you, they don't take into consideration that there had been a worldwide flood, after the which...
Probably because your flood obviously never happened. The world would be a lot different had the event happened in any way that you idiots describe. There's no evidence thereof. Also, you're forgetting that a river delta, like anything, in the whole fucking ocean, isn't going to be isolated, isn't just going to build up forever. Material's going to move, material's going to shift around. You're going to reach a limit to how high the actual delta deposits can get before the pressure of the river coming out still takes over and things spread further. Fluid dynamics is pretty amazing. Your ability to not understand it has no bearing on the validity of your fairy tales.
Maybe half of that delta Earth had come down in the first 100 years or so. It indicates a young Earth. What is the oldest living thing on Earth today? Please, no family jokes or things of that nature. The oldest living thing is called the bristlecone pine. It's also called the Methuselah pine. It is about 4,300 years old. Whoa. What happened 4,300 years ago? Well,
absolutely nothing. Also, we have a lot of specimens of living creatures older than that. Bristlecone pines are just the most famous. But we have stuff that's older. Y'all just say nuh-uh to it.
According to the Bible, there was a worldwide flood that completely revamped all the real estate. Plants, animals, and people.
Revamped all the real estate. Okay there, Trump.
People began to populate the earth.
Repopulate.
About 4,400 years ago.
John, why don't we find kangaroo fossils in Turkey?
Interesting. How come we don't have anything living older than 4,300 years?
We do.
Older than the time of the flood.
We do.
Also, we have the giant sequoia trees of California. Here's a picture of one that's over 300 feet tall.
Well, it was. I am 99% sure that's the one that got felled in a pretty bad storm. Was it called General Sherman? I feel like it was named General Sherman. Or does it say that right on there? Oh, I can barely read that shit.
Some 21 feet wide at its base. Plenty of room to
Chandler Tree Underwood Park.
cut a hole and fit a car in there. And they're about 4,000
Also, carving a big ass hole into a tree that's older than this damn country. You're kind of a dick there, National Park Service.
years old. Now, what's the reason that the bristlecone pine and the sequoia trees are so old? Two reasons. One is their resistance to plant diseases, as well as their resistance to forest fires.
Wow. Congratulations. You explained how something can live a long time in the conditions those things happen to grow in, being the kinds of creatures they are. Creatures, the life they are. Congratulations. Doesn't point to your flood.
Indicates a young Earth.
No.
Another clock that indicates a young Earth is the world's population. A few years ago, we passed
Here we go. Extrapolating shit incorrectly.
above 6 billion people in the world.
Ah, so you say a couple of years ago, meaning this occurred in 1999. I remember that because it was my freshman year of high school, late 1999. I learned that fact, and that's cemented in me as a barometer for a lot of turn of the millennium content to know that if someone mentions a date or makes a reference to the 6 billion population mark of global population, that any kind of time span they give you, saying, oh, a couple of years ago would mean we're talking towards 2001, this would have been produced. So thanks for the info. That makes your 20 billion year old Earth thing even more ridiculous, or old universe thing even more ridiculous.
We want to make a calculation backwards to find out how much time will it take to have 6 billion people alive on the Earth. Again, I propose a average number of 150 years to duplicate.
Okay, so it's not General Sherman, but I know a big ass tree, and I think it was that one got knocked the fuck over. Could be mistaken, but I know we lost one of the big ass trees.
The living population on the Earth. Again, I realize there's times it takes more time than that, times it's taken less time than that, but to get an idea. So we start out with 6 billion people.
My internet search. The goggle does nothing.
Count back 150 years and take half of that number, which is 3 billion. We add another 150 years and
I love how you can hear that truck going in the background. Y'all heard that, right? This man recording in a damn shack out back.
take half of the previous figure. Keep adding 150 and take a half. As we scroll down to the bottom of the page, we see that after 4,500 years, there would only be 5.5 people left.
That's not how population works. You're expecting all of those subsequent generations to stay alive and keep on living. You're not accounting for any value involving death. Just straight up, you're not. Natural or otherwise, artificial death, it's still death. Coming soon, artificial death. Have you tried actual death? Didn't enjoy it much? Try artificial death. You'll sleep for a week or your money back. There we go. Oh man. Yeah, I'm not in a streaming zone today in a headspace, but I'm trying. But yeah, John, creationists in general, this just doesn't work. It doesn't accommodate for deaths. Populations don't actually grow like that. They just don't. Y'all extrapolate way incorrectly. But of course, that's the only way to make anything that sounds sensible to people who don't know any better, who follow your madness.
Whoa, what happened 4,500 years ago? Well, according to the Bible, there was a worldwide flood that cleared the whole earth and only 8 people survived. Just think, with 8 people and 4,500 years of time, we could have the Earth's population today of over 6 billion people. It agrees with what the Bible says, indicates a young Earth. Now, from the side of evolution, we have this picture from National Geographic, which is of a Homo sapiens. Man knows. And they say it's 92,000 years old. Now, let me tell you something. When we find a fossil, any place, I promise you, not a single fossil comes out with a tag that says, "Hi, I'm the fossil of a Homo sapiens, and I'm 92,000 years old." No.
Keep on saying Homo sapiens. It's Homo sapien there, John.
People, according to their beliefs, put the names and their dates.
No. People, according to scientific methodologies that are proven to work and you accept in every other facet of your life, are able to determine the rough ages of given fossil specimens based on a multitude of heuristics.
As we'll see in a little bit, a lot of the dating methods are thoroughly unreliable. But let's be generous. Let's say the first human couple lived 45,000 years ago. One man, one woman, modern human beings. Year zero. 150 years go by, now we're 4. We go to 300 years, now we're 8.
Why would the numbers be that small? It doesn't make sense. Your population growth rates are just fundamentally wrong on all fronts. We can see in our own lifetimes how big family trees get. Just even relatively small families over a period of 60 years. Pick an arbitrary point and just follow 60 years on and look at how it branches. The branch rates are actually pretty quick, but it's kept in check by the rate of death, which is roughly a 60 to 100 year range where, things are very likely to drop off. What we've found historically is things kept relatively balanced as our technology improved, our numbers improved. But once we hit the Industrial Revolution, things shot right the fuck up. Because the quality of life we could provide ourselves, especially with medical science developing into what it's become, beyond incredible. But of course, people like you want to drag us back to the stupid ages.
Out that calculation, how many would we be today? Wow, we'd be standing chest against back, shoulder against shoulder, arms upon legs upon shoulders, miles up in the air, covering the whole surface of the earth. We are not that many people. We do not find that many human artifacts, remains, or bones.
Yeah, seriously. The remains of Noah's Ark, which would have obviously been the base for this recurring population, it would have been just like Everyone in the Hills Have Eyes. Incest City.
It indicates a young earth, just like the Bible says. Now, some in my audience will be saying, fine, John, that's all well and good, but carbon-14 proves that everything is really, really old. Oh.
No. Carbon-14 is a useful metric for organic material within roughly 100,000 year range if you're looking for age values, or if you are okay with getting age values that are roughly in 5,000 year increments. You get a little more refined, but yeah, you're not going to get super precise, but you're not going to get, a super long scale either. Using the wrong ruler, as creationists do.
Okay, let's talk about carbon-14. Now, if you don't know about carbon-14, just hang on for a minute. Let me answer this question for some other people, and then we'll get back to other stuff that maybe is more interesting for you. First of all, how is carbon-14 made? Carbon-14 is made in that a cosmic ray hits nitrogen-14 and changes into carbon-14.
Carbon-14 is made in that... What?
Carbon-14 is made in that a cosmic...
This may have been a point where Logic said this very phrase and exposed me to it, but I'll say it myself as a tribute. John, I think you accidentally the sentence.
Carbon is normally carbon-12. Carbon-14 is unstable. We call it radioactive in that it's unstable and gives off an emission that eventually
Does it do this at night regularly? If so, you might have a teenage carbon 14 atom.
reverts back to nitrogen-14. Now, all living things are made up of carbon, and some is carbon-14. Clams, algae, fish.
Everything isn't made up of carbon. Carbon happens to be a very versatile element and is the basis for life, and chemically speaking, like by the rules of chemistry, is the thing that makes chemistry types organic or not. It's involving carbon bonds, usually in conjunction with hydrogen, but some other elements. Hydrocarbon bonds being the most common, reasonable bang for buck and bonding energy. Uh, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, you suck. No, gonna be nice to John. He's gone. He can't defend himself. But seriously, the blandness, the lack of giving a damn about the facts from someone who's supposed to be a chemist is what really bothers me. It's like carbon is just the compounds that make up life, the compounds that we use, all tend to be based around carbon chains. It's just how this stuff works. So, yeah, what you're getting at is we ingest a lot of carbon, and some of that is radioactive. Full stop. You've got C14 in your body right now. It's wild. Glad you don't have too much of it because when that stuff becomes nitrogen, problems happen. But you're going to go in about the rates decay. You don't know how much you had originally, and all this stuff that's just nonsense. It's all understood. It's all compensated for. What is even a valid retort that you guys have? But I think the not knowing how much there was to begin with is fundamentally irrelevant. I've got to double check myself on that, but I think that isn't even the factor it seems like it is.
Birds, trees, animals, humans all have lots of carbon, and some is carbon-14. While these things are living, there's a balance. But when there's death, there's a loss of carbon-14. The idea is if we could find out how much carbon-14 is left in something, we could know how long it's been dead. That's what the theory proposes. Now, they suppose lots of things, one of which, for example, is how much carbon-14 was there 2,000 years ago? We don't know. We weren't there.
But ingestion rates are set. This isn't what you think it is.
What we do know is things that we know their age, carbon-14 fails to give the right age. For example, there was a seal that had been dead for 30 years. When its carcass was tested with carbon-14, gave an age of death of 4,600 years. A seal recently killed gave an age of 1,300 years.
Yes, because you're using the testing method incorrectly. You don't use it for things that are fresh. It doesn't work that way. I don't know what part of that you idiots cannot understand.
The bark from a living tree gave an age of 10,000 years. It was alive. The shell from living snails gave an age of 27,000 years. Some of their membrane and tissue dated at 3,000 years. From the other extreme, we have coal from Russia that's supposedly 300 million years old, gave an age of 1,680 years.
Wow, this big lump of carbon. I wonder, could it have been, it was in the ground for so long? What else is in the ground? I don't know. Radioactive isotopes. Could those have not, done some contamination? Yeah. It's always this with these guys. And it's like, prove me wrong, prove me wrong. It's like, been there, done that. Got anything new? Ever?
Carbon-14 is not reliable for dating things that used to live. On the other extreme, we have a process for dating rocks. This is called
Thank you, Tyler. It's the ratio between daughter to parent element that's important. It has to be dead minimum 100 years to carbon date it. That's what I was thinking. I just couldn't remember for sure that I think it's a matter of comparing the nitrogen levels to the C14 values, and that gives you the age range. That sounds right. I really should not have undertaken this, but I was so proud of that intro, I just had to do something with it. Today is not the day to whack a Pendleton, to whack a Hovind, to whack anybody.
potassium argon. In 1801, a volcano in Hawaii had an eruption, and the lava flowed and touched the water, stayed there, solid there. They took those samples 167 years later to see how long it had been since the volcano erupted. We already know, 167 years. But with potassium argon, we got dates between 100 million years to 3 billion years ago that it erupted.
Funny with metamorphic rock that you'd get such odd values, possibly because you don't use that for that type of material. I'm not 100%, but if I had to guess, you wouldn't use that type of radiometric dating on goddamn volcanic rock. Doesn't work that way.
And so, as I mentioned, for things that we do know, we find that
That's just me hazarding a guess.
that also is unreliable. Also, in the Grand Canyon, we have lava that has flown over the edge of the canyon, over the rocks, as well as a layer down below that's called the carbonous, which is volcanic rock. Those two were tested. Obviously, the one that's flowed over the side of the canyon is the much younger lava flow. The one that's way down in one of the rock layers, the carbonous layer, is obviously much older. But in almost all of the testing that was done, the older one tested out millions of years younger than the younger one. And the
Once again, I'm going to defer that the odds are extremely good that you clowns did the testing completely incorrectly. Lied about the stuff. And by did the testing, I mean paid someone else who actually has the equipment to do these tests, but didn't give them any information about the sample so they could calibrate anything properly.
younger one tested out millions of years older than the older one. And so consistently we've seen that it's not reliable. The Earth is young. Some
Lava's igneous rock. Thank you. I am very tired while I do this, but the rest of what you said was spot on. Thank you. Yes, igneous, not metamorphic.
say, well, you need a long period of time to make fossils. Well,
Like, I'm be real. Geology was the least focused on thing in my school career, not by choice. In fact, in high school, the books were clearly set up in a physics, chemistry, and geology branch, an entry level and a higher level of each. But Shelby County Schools had, at this time of the very late 90s, early 2000s, with a set of books, set it up to where you started with a life science class, then a physical science. So the entry level for biology and entry level for chemistry, then went
there's lots.
to the biology book, and then depending on how your stuff went, what your focusing was, you may have gone on to chemistry. So instead of picking one of three branches, they had you do level one, level two, another level two, but never even touch the level one and two of earth science and geology, which I only know this because the books were actually setting in my sophomore year science teacher's class. They were there, just pristine, untouched, but she had full sets of them, both of them, like a whole class's worth, just there. Don't know why. That's just where they stored them, I guess. And I was like, I put two and two together because I'm wired like that. And it was at a point in that class where I was literally just drawing while stuff was going on and still getting hundreds. She did not care. It's physical science. Of course I paid attention. I was pissed that we skipped electricity, but we were behind. Anyway, point is, um, That is definitely a weak spot for me and science. So I easily get terms mixed up. There's a little story from Yamato land. Oh, here we go. The limestone cowboy.
Lots of fossils out there. Here's one of my favorite ones. This is a cowboy boot. This was found in West Texas. And
Now, when you say West Texas, do you mean the western portion of the state of Texas or the town of West Texas, where, if memory serves, a fertilizer plant exploded roughly 2010 to 2012 range and damn near obliterated half the town in a beautiful catastrophe that I'm sure that area still has not fully recovered from, and is a spot I would love to visit, if only to get a sense of, this is a small town that got fucked over by corporations, and to empathize, if not with the people there, because they probably run my lib ass the hell out of town. Ah, he's a liberal, get him. But you know, the way I like to embrace, the reality of places. I love getting to visit locations where things happening and be like, okay, this is real. This is tangible. This is just another spot on the globe. And I literally came from my normal space to this. Um, yeah. Which West Texas do you mean there, buddy?
the right-hand image here, we see that the poor cowboy broke his leg, and his leg and foot stayed inside the boot. They did a scan of the toe section. All 5 toe bones are in there. It's all fossilized. This was found in the 1980s. The flip side shows the design that's on the boot. So they went looking in West Texas, the different cowboy boot factories, and found that a factory said, yeah, that's our boot. That's a design that we used in the 1950s. In 30 years, this whole thing is fossilized. Not millions of years.
It's not fossilized. You have petrification from mineral-rich water. All of these examples are just that. Mineral-rich waters causing concretions.
But a very short period of time. This water wheel of wood had water flowing over it. In a matter of 60 years, the wood became petrified wood. It became rock. 60 years, petrified wood. Not millions of years. This bottle...
Let me tell you, calling your tutor a corporate whore is not something anyone expects that they'll have to do in their life, but apparently, Mithril, you had to do that. Good old John Pendleton, the copy-paste of Hovland. That is right.
encased in rock with a ceramic jar.
Who came first, the Hovland or the Pendleton?
On the left-hand side was 100.
Or was it secretly Carl Ball all along?
130 years in the bottom of the ocean in a ship that had crashed and wrecked off
Hey, is that Epstein Island?
the coast of Australia. And yet, because of natural elements there, rock had actually formed around the ceramic jar and the bottle.
No, those are again concretions. Very common.
In only 130 years, not millions of years.
And fossils are not concretions.
A miner dropped his hat.
Let us note that fossil is in quotes on this I'm going to go retro with this. And that's a rare use of me using that word, but I think it actually fits because I'm taking something from the past and bringing it to the present rather than using it as a synonym for old like idiots do. Yeah, everyone uses retro wrong. Fight me about it. Going to be very retro and say this poorly Xeroxed image.
By accident into a water hole inside of a mine. He couldn't fish it out. Somebody fished it out.
Well, yeah, but calling it Kid Rock, which you'd have to say it like that because if you say Kid Rock, they think you're talking about the shitty music artist. I have to call it Kid Rock. But even then, they're still going to think I'm talking about the musicians. So I have to say Epstein Island for the most part, sadly.
50 years later, it had been turned into a fossilized hat, as hard as a helmet that a motorcyclist would wear. 50 years, fossilized hat. These pliers were found on the edge of a beach, thoroughly encrusted.
Yeah, we have confusion of calcification with permineralization. Double checking, is my term concretion correct? Because it's my understanding that that implies that material has, for lack of a better term in trying to define a term, materials have built up and cemented themselves almost like a kind of concrete, analogous to that material on an object. Like stalactites and stalagmites are their own kind of concretion, and this is just what happens when other objects are in similar water conditions with basically hard as fuck water. Hell, concretions are in they're in my damn sink right now.
with built up
Am I gonna clean them out? Hell no. Now this place soon, hopefully.
of sand and rock, all fossilized around these pliers. Even a piece of shell is still seen here. Fossilized pliers in very short period of time, not millions of years. In 1886, in New Zealand, there was a volcano that erupted, and
Oh god, Pendleton, you're boring. And Mithril's verifying that I'm right. Thanks again for y'all always throwing out corrections when I need them, verifying stuff when I need you to. This is all a team effort. I'm just the guy who does the streams. Hey, Zoomy.
did a lot of destruction to the surrounding communities. As time went by, people went back into these areas to dig and see where they could find things of any kind of worth. They found this bowler cap, which basically is made out of cloth, but this is now turned into rock. Fossilized.
You know, if you beat that bowler hat hard enough, you'll probably break all the concretions off and be able to get it to a roughly pliable state again. It's just kind of cemented in there. And good point. None of these things were ever living. Very good point. None of this stuff was alive. You're not showing me quickly fossilized, oh God, Futurama. What was Fry's dog's name? Seymour. You're not showing me Seymour. You know, what is he? 40% dolomite? Come on.
hat in just a few years, not millions of years.
Let me tell you, there's two kinds of people. Those who just think of Walking on Sunshine as a happy song from like the 60s or 70s or whenever, and those who know about Seymour.
Now, if you'd like to have a novelty for a snack, how about a petrified ham sandwich? Here's the petrified ham turned to rock again in a very short.
Yeah, I'm no rock scientist. I just know calcification from plumbing. If you're really unlucky, you also know galvanization from plumbing.
Period of time, not millions of years. And also there's a bag of wheat flour turned to rock also. Even the stitching could still be seen on the bag, but fossilized in a very short period of time. These beautiful.
Hey, John, you ever seen what happens if you get some finely ground flour wet and then it dries out? What it becomes? Do you not understand how basic things work?
Gems are called opals. And according to evolutionary theory, it takes millions of years to make opals. Now there's opal mines in a place in Australia, and
I will not tell you where this place in Australia is, for it must be guarded like the secret that it deserves to be. All the opals, even though they'll only give +3 to charisma, and you can totally get shit that'll give you +10 charisma on the trading post, still.
opal
Yes, I just mixed Guild Wars and Dungeons and Dragons concepts together. I'm losing my mind.
dealer went and just took some of the powder from these mining areas, placed it in different jars with different acids and chemicals. He is making
I don't think he's going to be doing this too much longer, and I'm surprised we've gotten as far as we have.
opals in a matter of months. These opals are so fine, so beautiful.
Oh, Opal, you're so fine. Oh, you're so fine, you blow my mind. Hey, Opal.
That even the opal dealers cannot tell the difference between them and ones that are dug out of the mine.
Well, they must be really shitty Opal dealers, ain't they?
Even more so, under an electron microscope, you cannot tell the difference between the mind opals and the ones that he's created in jars in a matter of a few months.
I don't know anything about mind opals, John, but have you ever heard of the mind goblin?
Takes millions of years to make opals? Afraid not. Natural processes are able to do it in a matter of months. I took this picture near Monterrey,
Also, with regard to those fake opals, I mean, I call complete bullshit.
Mexico. And what this billboard says in English is publicity for the Garcia Caverns in Monterrey, Mexico.
Oh, yeah, good point. Mineral seeding.
Of course, they are brainwashing us.
Little stuff like that, though. The little Hovindism right there. It's like, that's the stuff where it's like with John, it's like, maybe you aren't the nicest guy. Maybe you're just not the kind of person who can get all fiery in your presentations, but you actually were Hovind grade jerk ass material.
What it says is
Also, that looked more like a euphemism for giving hand jobs, so, whatever you did in your life is your own business, though. I don't care. Unlike that guy I saw at work yesterday who had a shirt that said, in a font that I'm pretty sure I have on my computer, like nothing special, teach your kids to change their oil, not their gender. And I'm thinking, okay, well, first off, a kid can learn that from YouTube probably better than you could teach them. Can you change your own oil? What about other skills that I have that you don't have? But ignoring that, let's focus on the elephant in the room of gender identity. As you're sitting there helping your kid, tie their shoe or something, which is fine, whatever. But so would you rather your child suffer the effects of dysmorphia and not feel comfortable in their own skin, or would you rather nurture them into becoming the best version of themselves they can be, even if that includes them happening to not agree with the gender identity that nature and society have instilled, that society has instilled on them, rather than what they truly feel to be, which is going to be a side effect of them being themselves. It's fundamental to who they are. They don't just choose this stuff. This idea that people just choose things. Like I wake up one day and I'm gonna be trans. Like that's not what happens. It's just not what's going on. But if this guy wants his kids to be miserable all the time, that's cool. I'm sure he also voted for a guy who would molest those children if he had the chance. So, had I not been at work, I would have probably confronted him on that dilemma. But that's its own thing.
60 million years of nature, a drop at a time. Now, what can we do to protect ourselves? Well, it's always a good idea to see, what does the Bible have to say? What does God have to say? What counsel is there for me? In Job 38:4, God is questioning Job, and he says, where were you when I...
What the hell is up with your Bible? You got the spine right here, then it opens up, and then there's just this big page on. Did someone just tape this to it? Sir, I don't think it's how your Bible's supposed to work.
laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if you have understanding.
Okay, foundations. So the earth has foundations, which means it's flat. It's sitting like a table with pillars. Bible has flat earth.
What I'm proposing is this, and many have found it effective. The next time somebody in your hearing says something and something millions of years, you with
And yeah, very good point there. The oil versus gender nonsense was the ultimate false equivalence. But if you're going to teach kids something, teach them something useful. It's like, how about I teach them how to be decent people? How about I teach them how the capitalist hellscape that the world has become, is beyond unsustainable and needs to be destroyed. Needed to be destroyed a century ago. Um, you know, how about we teach them the facts about right-wing idiocy, about the American Republican Party, about the people who run the country right now? How about the kinds of people that mommy and daddy voted for and what they would allow to be done to their children, to those very kids? I'm sure if I explained to those kids that their parents would have no problem letting them get raped on some island somewhere, that mommy and daddy would be very mad. But as far as all evidence points, they would not care, and I would be correct in saying that. But again, changing kids learning about their gender identity as if they can't change the oil. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of trans men and trans women out there. Take your pick, and they can change their oil just fine. It's funny when in a group full of car owners when I was younger, in a vehicle where everyone but me was a car owner, and we had a tire blowout. I was the only one who could change the tire. Just saying. What does that have to relate to this car analogy? But it shows that, like, I don't even know. It's just a matter of what people know, what people learned is really irrelevant on other factors. And things can be unrelated or related. I don't know. Words. God, that guy just saw that and I was like, Jesus Christ, I forget what kind of fucking place I work at. I mean, I like work, but the kinds of people that can be attracted.
Courtesy, raise your hand, ask to speak, and say, "Excuse me, were you there? Did you set a clock? Did you register this amount of time?"
And the classic "let's interrupt school" with "were you there?" Copyright Ken Ham, 2016, colorized.
You see, a lot of people just keep repeating millions of years without even realizing where it comes from. They just
See, a lot of people just keep on saying 6,000 years without realizing where it comes from.
assume that it's right, but not knowing that it's actually wrong.
They just assume 6,000 years is right, not knowing that it's actually wrong. And then when you explain to them why it's wrong, they just put their fingers in their ears, go, nuh-uh. And then after the fact, come up with little shit they share with their cult buddies, trying to debunk, if there was any bunk to it, what you actually have to say about the actual fucking science.
So let's give a little practice. I'll count to three, and even though you're watching through video, you say it too, will you? Just to get in the habit of it. Were you there? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Were you there?
1, 2, 3. You're dead now. I promised I was going to be nice, and now I'm just being an asshole. Whatever. He's pissed me off somehow, even though it's not like I haven't seen this video before through Logic.
Now some people say, "Oh, John, I could never do that." Why not? Well, what if they turn the question on me? Well, were you there? What should I tell them? Well, tell them that you weren't there. I tell them I wasn't there.
Ooh, this is a fun one from Madeline. The superphobes who say stuff like that are always confused by me, Madeline, veteran aircraft mechanic and mechanical engineer who happens to be trans. They just look and go, what? And then they have to reboot their pathetic brains. Know a few trans women who are probably better mechanics than the guy wearing that shirt. Yeah, I'm very certain of it. And we have human civilizations we know of dating back over 12,000 years. This we do.
I said, but a good friend of mine was there, and he's left me a record of everything that he saw, that happened, that he did.
And see, once you say that, I'm just like, you're crazy. Go get medical attention. Like, I would throw the kid out of the class. I'd start that fucking thing because, like, look, they said they had a friend who was there. All right, you come talking about imaginary friends, I'm done. We're too old for this. This is high school.
And to date, he hasn't failed in anything. Really? Who's your friend? My Heavenly Father. And what's the record? The Bible.
Show me on the book where your heavenly daddy touched you.
It has not failed me in anything. It's an accurate record that I have from Almighty God.
Why are you sweating, John? Actually, they probably can't run the AC while filming because the mics will pick it up. And this is back before noise cancellation was really much of an option. Hell no, Audacity. I was using that back in 2003. I was recording songs from DDR from the PlayStation games directly into my computer. It was a ghetto setup, but it worked. Then I learned that there was a whole community around this stuff, and that was awesome. But yeah, noise cancellation was helpful there. So that's why he's sweating, wiping off the sweat off his brow, because it's probably hot as fuck in there.
Now, in caves and caverns, like this one in Carlsbad Caverns, New Mexico. We have a tremendous flow pile up there of minerals from a little drop in the ceiling. And usually the sign that says just after millions of years, this formed. Of course, we said, were you there? In Montana, there was a thermal mineral bubbling of water coming out of the ground. A man built a metal base around that spring, made a big pipe go up about 10, 15 feet, and this whole mass of rock formed in a period of 100 years. This time, we were there. It doesn't take millions of years for these rock mineral formations.
Tyler, good point. Like all creationist crap, it's there for the people who already believe it.
Underneath the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., the filtration of rains and melted snows have caused this formation of mineral deposits underneath the sidewalks of that monument. 150 centimeters, about almost 5 feet in 46 years. Doesn't it?
John, you didn't have to explain what 150 centimeters is. These people don't even know what feet are either. Now, you laugh when I say that. You and my lovely audience will think, no, Americans know their feet. No, they don't. The dimensions of everything are listed on them when you buy them. So, like a tent, a canopy for doing something outdoors. And these people will be like, well, how big is that? And it's like, it's 10 feet. You don't know how far 10 feet is? And I have to point out, because fun fact, the tiles in most places are going to be 12-inch squares. So 1 foot. So you take 10 of those, and there you go. There's how wide it is. Did it the other way, and there you go. It's like, I get this is people who may not have the ability to really visualize something in their head as much as I do, not being able to do this stuff, but still, they seem truly confused as to what even feet and inches are. So they'll oftentimes have to take things out and see how long they are and then just leave them sitting there. And that's a universal retail problem. People are fucking stupid. So yeah, just it's like they don't know. They don't care. They're not going to figure it out, even if you just no matter how much you dumb it down. Maybe the fact that it happened to be roughly 5 feet means some of the shorties out there will be like, oh, so they were about as long as I am tall. But I don't think they can even parse that.
Take millions of years for that. This monument in Indiana, in 46 years also, we see tremendous formations that have occurred underneath that monument. Just rains and melting snow and ice filled.
Oh, Mithril adds in. They're called straw stalactites under the Lincoln Memorial. Fascinating.
Through the ground, leaves these formations underneath. And most impressive are these stalactites. A mine was closed in for 55 years in Australia. And when they opened it, some of these were grown here. You can see where the white arrow is pointing out some men to give you an idea for scale. This formed in 55 years.
No, I just saw a bunch of lines with blue U's on them.
Tremendous formation of stalactites, not millions of years, very little time indeed. Now some say, well, you need a whole lot of time to make coal. Well, in laboratories with just vegetable materials.
And Zumi popping herself in with a lovely, lovely little anecdote here, saying that her teacher taught her feet to miles in tomatoes. 5 tomatoes, 5,280 feet. 5280. That is damn good. Damn good. And okay, if I can take a moment, I'm not going to defend the imperial measurements and the like, your feet, your pounds, your whatever, in some kind of way of, trying to be like, oh no, it's not as good as metric. No. I find all measuring systems equally good so long as they're understood by the people. Here's the thing. I forget where I heard this, but it was beautifully put in that while metric is far more logical, it lacks something, and that is the human touch. Temperature in Fahrenheit is a human scale. Distance in feet and stuff is a human scale. I'm presuming that all of our other like other units of weight and volume, are still somewhere tied to something reasonable with human scale. And at that point, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, none of it makes fundamental sense. It's all arbitrary. But then again, technically speaking, so is the metric system. It's just we happen to count by base 10, so we decided with this one particular concept of the meter would be divided into these fragments of tens and hundreds. Um, as long as the system works and the people understand it, it doesn't really matter. But, you know, it's an interesting thought with things, especially like the Fahrenheit temperature scale, that it is built around humans. That once you reach about 100 Fahrenheit, it's probably too hot for just about everybody. And once you go below 0 Fahrenheit, you're below freezing, but people can still kind of operate in those temperatures, at least for limited times. But once you hit zero and below, it's like, no, that's just too cold for people. Um, so, once I heard that, it's like, okay, that makes the stuff feel a little more comfortable again. But it really doesn't matter. Measure things however you want. I swap between systems all the time for whatever is convenient.
Sawdust, wood, in conditions that are similar to what happens down inside the earth. They've made coal in laboratory situations in a matter of a few months. They've made petroleum from just your wastes from your kitchen. In fact, there's a factory.
These are not what you think, John. You need a lot of heat and pressure to make coal. Yep. And with diamonds, and like my sci-fi writing, I've looked into synthetic diamonds and the processes to make them. And so I've had actually in my sci-fi project that yes, I've been working on for well, actually for over for like near 20 years, but ostensibly this variation of it the past couple. Um I've had to make sure that the synthetic diamonds that are used in this sci-fi future are of a modest size because apparently creating big long tube diamonds is near impossible. Um, and Mithril brings up that the only part of the metric system taught in U.S. schools is 9 millimeter. Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. Also, metric weights are based on physical objects, and the kilogram has gone down to about 1/10 of a gram, uh, down about 1/10 of a gram since the actual weight was decided on because of how they degrade over time. Yeah, that is another good point. That's part of why why SI has been switching to explicitly defined measurements rather than this object represents what this is kind of measurements. Like the meter being defined as how far light goes in a very small fraction of time.
Australia that at an investment of some $26 million can change the toilet water from your bathroom in a low-grade petroleum in 90 minutes. Now these
No, it can't. And let's presume you could do that in a trivial way as you describe. The amount of energy you would need to put in would be tremendous. You're not going to get a free lunch here. You're going to take more energy in than what you're going to get out as this bioproduct. Like, there's enough hydrocarbon material in there to get usable fuel out of, but where's the benefit?
capitalists are not going to wait millions of years to make petroleum. They do it in a way that is extremely equal, similar to what happens down inside the earth.
Yeah, almost as if they just use what happens in the earth because that's where this stuff comes from. We don't mass produce these kinds of artificial fuels back then, let alone now. There is no way the oil industry will ever do that because it's not going to be profitable for them. And that's all they fucking care about.
At high pressures, high temperatures, changing vegetable material, animal material that's there into petroleum. They do it in 90 minutes.
I don't know, man. I mean, my dealer, he sells this shit in cubits and rod and grain. Is to sell, try to pick up, 100 grain of coke from this man, and it's just like, what are you doing? Luckily, knowing ammunition, I understand the relative value of the weights, because yeah, that's how much a bullet is measured. Its weight is measured in a unit called grain. In case you didn't know. Um, Also, the man only gets paid in pre-decimal British currency, so it's really hard to find this man proper just the proper coinage. He won't accept anything less. If you don't get it right, you don't get your stuff that day. So, yeah, but he is the only person I know with New Coke, vintage 1985. Oh, you thought I was talking about cocaine? Haha. Take that, YouTube AI overlords. Y'all are funny.
The extremely high pressure of natural gas uh,
Especially on taco night.
down inside the earth is so high that geologists say, now the thing is, gas does not respect gravity. It pushes to the sides, pushes up, to the right, to the left, down. Any place there's a crack, the gas will seep out and the pressure will
I love how his own outro interrupts him.
go down. But geologists say that the pressure is so high that if the earth were any older than 10,000 years, that there'd be much less gas pressure. But the gas
Really? Because I don't think anyone says that.
pressure is so high, indicating maximum age.
C proton number 206. Call Technologic. Zacatecas 98099 Mexico.
That the Earth could have is about 10,000 years. Any older than that, it would have less pressure.
You know, where is this man's grave? Is he buried in Mexico or is he buried in Wisconsin? Because I would like to visit if I ever have the opportunity and be like, hey, John, we disagree on a lot of stuff, but, rest in peace. I'm still going to laugh at your videos. uh, I hate it. I can't get rid of the my empathy for just the human element. You're a human. I'm a human. Y'all are human. Oh, except for Zumi. Zumi is Zumi's a bunny girl, if memory serves. D&D characters.
Again, it indicates a young Earth, as the Bible says. And for all my readings, all my studies, all my practicing of what the Bible teaches, I found it to be true, to be exactly.
Vimy Ridge, not yet. Had a busy work week. I slept early Thursday and Friday nights, so I've still got the note in my system. I'll try to check that out shortly.
What it says it is, the Word of God, inspired by Him, directed by Him, and I can rely upon it. Put your trust in the Lord Jesus Christ.
Nah, my audience should put their trust in Lord Yamato. I may not have the best streams. I may not stream all the time. But sometimes I will stream and it won't totally suck. Like this one did.
Read the Bible. Put it into practice. You'll find it to be true. It's God's
Go slaughter your enemy. See how that works out for you.
Word. We'll see you soon. Next time we're talking about the Ape Men. Very interesting conference.
Really? Like the ape man I'm staring at on screen? Because, John, you are an ape. I'm an ape. Everyone in my audience is an ape. Except again for Zumi, who's a bunny girl. Which is weird that the bunny girl would have some ape-like features. That brings about many, many questions, but given the magical nature of such a universe, you really don't need to think about it too much. Which is something I love about the Guild Wars universe, is that there's so much magical mystery stuff in there, with the way the mists are, that anything can work. Like, I fully believe that that Earth is in the Guild Wars universe, and people just haven't gotten to it. I think that's actually where the humans in the Guild Wars universe come from, is Earth. It makes so much sense. I also love that in the newest expansion, you're at an island far off called Castoria, and one of the they're called Renown Hearts. They're events that are kind that unlock a merchant or and are used for a particular, MMO stuff. So they're not like events that happen at a given time, but they're things to do in the area, and eventually, you complete it, unlock stuff. They've gotten repeatable now. In the base game, they were one and done. Um, there's one in Castoria, deep inland, where one of the things is to draw strange animals, and it's a bunny and a duck, stuff like that. But there are no ducks elsewhere in the game. You don't think about it till you see it. It's like, curious animal, and it's like, oh, okay, let me draw this duck, and I love it. Oh God, I love Guild Wars. Cabot. Well, half Cabot, half human, all chaos. And the Cabot in itself is half cat, half rabbit. Oh yes, of course, like Ryo-Oki. Yeah, dropping that Tenchi Muyo knowledge. Bunny girls make bunny girls. That's all we've ever seen. Talking about the stuff in Guild Wars, it's interesting because with the 5 playable races, there's all kinds of intermingling, but no crossbreeding. In theory, Norn, which are just large humans, as far as physical appearance goes, and regular humans should be compatible. But as far as is known, there were no crossbreeds. Although I think there's supposed to be someone in Guild Wars 1 who contradicts this, and they've just kind of pushed that to the side. But the only other race that humans could really do anything with are Sylvari. But the problem is, Sylvari are plant people. We jokingly in the community call them salads, and they're described in detail in the wiki that like they're not fleshy. Their skin is bark. They are plants, but they're humanoid. They creak as they move, like a tree does. But because the pale tree that they originate from was aware of the human form from 2 people who were involved in that tree originally being able to like survive. It's a long mythos with the Sylvari and actually goes big in the first expansion, Heart of Thorns. There's a dark secret about them. Spoilers. Um, all the offspring of the Pale Tree, all of the Sylvari, have humanoid forms. So they have human anatomy. But yeah, just gonna be out with it. Nobody's getting it on with a Sylvari one way or the other. So that's out. And the only other options would be the Ashura, which are little goblin-esque humans. That's the best way I can describe them. Adorable in some ways, like Timey is just the best. But and honestly, I'm really partial to my character Sena. But yeah, that's just weird. And they got pointy teeth. And then the Char, giant-ass cats. Yeah, yeah, got some weird, crazy kinds of furries all into that. So there's no intermingling in Guild Wars. Yep, I just went through a thing on the species, the races in Guild Wars, and what they might want to do if they ended up falling in love. Also notable in Guild Wars is a large number of people who are in same-sex relationships, and there are some gender ambiguous people, either humans as well as other races and various entities in the world. Like Tequatl doesn't actually see itself as male or female. That's interesting. Sylvari don't distinguish. Like they know there's a male type and a female type, but they don't actually distinguish. So it's extremely common for whomever to like whomever, and that plays a story point with Kaith. And of course, there's um, Marjorie and Casimir. They play a nice role in earlier story stuff up to Into Dragons, and then they get married. Yeah, Guild Wars, all inclusive. Gotta love it. I'm just rambling on about Guild Wars. What the hell? This was a John Morris Pendleton stream. Final Fantasy Cat Boys. I always loved that with Final Fantasy 11. While I have no enjoyment for Final Fantasy 11 or 14, 11 outright annoyed me. Um, My friend would play it with the TV up way too loud for some reason. It just bugged the hell out of me. And I didn't find the game enjoyable. I saw him play and I'm like, my God, this is boring. It was interesting with the Mithra, they were only ever female. So oftentimes you had, of course, the guy player playing a Mithra. And so the joke was they were called Manthra. Love the cows in Diablo 2. I really some point need to play Diablo 2. When I get my Windows 2000 machine back up, I'm going to give Diablo 2 a go. Yeah, that's where I got the idea from. Tenchi Muya used to have Ryo-Oki plush, but it got destroyed in a fight. Long story. Dang. Tried playing Guild Wars many years ago, but really struggled to find anyone to play with. Yeah, the first game, it was still big back 2010 range, 2012. As soon as Guild Wars 2 came out, the first game, it became very, very niche. And I still adore it, but I do not fire it up very often. It's a nostalgia thing for me. I mostly just hit Guild Wars 2. They don't have anything to spout as stupid as Hoven's vegan lion canard. We'll find out. We will find out. Of 11 for 7 years. Whew. Need to reiterate. We need a Foamy the Squirrel style Young Earth Creation debunker on YT. If I had the skills, I'd do it, but I am not that good. Playing Final Fantasy 14 for over a decade, playing it now as I listen to your stream. Nice. I ain't gonna knock anybody for enjoying the games. That's not my style. I just can't enjoy them. But I want to play Final Fantasy 12 and I want to work my way through 13, but after that, I don't think I have any more newish Final Fantasy that I want to play. And yes, it's weird calling a Final Fantasy that released on my birthday back in 2010 new, but welcome to Final Fantasy 13. Also funny, Final Fantasy 7 was released on my birthday in Japan in 97. So, more you know. Ever try the Secret World? No, not that I'm aware of. FF11 for 7 years, very happy playing it. Yeah, it just didn't vibe with me. Final Fantasy 9 didn't vibe with me either. And there's a lot I like from it, but I could not feel the same way I do about 9 as I do for 7 and 8. But yeah. I don't know, I could spend all day talking about some of the kick-ass game stuff. Can't really get a free VTuber avatar. It's always freebies out there. Yeah, I really need to give the VTuber thing a go again. Soon. Very soon. But that's about that. I don't think I have anything more to say that wouldn't just be rambling. We looked at Pendleton. I'm going to fire up some more Guild Wars again and try to relax. Got a lot of stuff I probably need to do this week. More about that down the line. I'll post in Discord. Pendleton is wearing a white coat, bit like Hoven used to wear with his fake doctorate. Yes, Pendleton does. And 13 is overly hated. I'm inclined to agree. I haven't played any of it, but from what I've seen, what I've heard, yeah, I think it actually could be pretty good. Because I hear people complaining that I call it Final Hallway 13, and I'm like, well, wasn't Final Fantasy X the same way? It's just kind of a long run from the bottom of the map to the top with a few little open segments. I mean, 10 really doesn't seem any different. Like, at least in that aspect, how I feel about it. VTuber avatar Ken Hoven with a cat or bunny ears. I wish. I wish. I mean, I could have different models and stuff, different modes. I'll look back into VTube Studio, though, because I do have that on my system. And it doesn't seem to kill it too bad. If I can find a free unit. God, I just spent all this time trying to pick up a guitar pick that I dropped. I've been fidget spinning with the guitar picks. I have 11 of the 13. Maybe I'll play guitar finally. It's only been like 6 months. But anyway, Final Fantasy VI was the best. Yeah, it was. It was. It was peak. Absolutely peak. But that's the end of that. Go play Final Fantasy. Your local pedophile. Yeah. Sorry, I don't know what that was there. But yeah. Catch everyone next time.